James Degale versus Andre Dirrell. An interesting fight because both guys are skilled southpaws. I've said it before. I think James Degale is one of the best super middleweights in the world today, without a shadow of a doubt. He's in my top three super middleweights. I believe he would always beat Carl Froch because Carl Froch never does well against movers. You look at the Andre Dirrell fight, and I think he would have got counterpunched all day long against someone like James Degale. Now, this fight, Degale versus Dirrell, you have Dirrell, who is or was a top-notch fighter. I can't say Dirrell is still a top-notch fighter because you have to tell me, you have to say to me, well, okay, what top-notch opponent has he fought in recent times? I said this before and I'll say it again. Dirrell was in Super 6. He pulled out of the Super 6 because of neurological problems. Now, if you've got neurological problems or issues, never found out what the full extent of those neurological issues were. But now he's back boxing. And I kind of find it strange that he's back boxing. I don't know how serious those neurological issues were, if there was any damage done to his brain. Clearly, if there was, why is he still boxing? And really, nobody talks about these neurological issues and nobody really examines it. But I'll tell you what Dirrell has got, as far as I've got, he's, I think he was mentally suspect. If you looked at the fight with Froch, when Froch started connecting and landing heavy and getting closer and closing the range down against Dirrell, Dirrell seemed to not want it. So the question of Dirrell's heart is there. And also the fight of Arthur Abraham boxing beautifully against Abraham. And then Abraham started landing things heavy. And then when he was on the canvas trying to get himself out of it, and of course, Abraham got disqualified. Now fights Degale, who is on a run. And he's fought Periban, who gave Bika hell in their fight. And he fought Brandon Gonzalez, who everyone was tipping, Brandon Gonzalez will beat Degale. And now the Olympic champion is about to fight Andre Dirrell. Now for me, form guide, I say, well, Degale has been fighting the better opposition of recent times and has been active fighting good top-level opposition. What has Dirrell been doing? That's my question. What has Dirrell been doing? And he hasn't fought anybody of top names of recent times. And for me, I just think mentally, you're looking at a man who's very strong in Degale. If you take into consideration what Degale's had to come through, you think about, well, he was liked by the public in the beginning. Then he had that fight against George Groves, and he really got a pasting after that George Groves defeat, even though a lot of people felt he beat George Groves, but it was because the public didn't like Degale. Automatically, the public turned against Degale, and I think that may have even influenced the judges in that fight, because I think Degale won the fight. Now on points. Now, since then, Degale has had to fight in Blue Water. If anyone knows Blue Water, it is a shopping mall. And for an Olympic champion to fight in a shopping mall, it is an absolute disgrace. Because you're Olympic champion. So he was walking around as Chunky, the man, giving it some. And then you're fighting in a shopping mall. So from fighting in a shopping mall, then you leave McKenzie to make that big move to Sky Box Office. And during Sky Box Office to get yourself onto Sky. And then you're on PBC now, which is Premier Boxing Champions, which is run by Al Heyman. So you're right in the midst of the world. The world can see you now. And during that time, he's had injuries. He's had to fight with injuries. I'm not saying Dirrell hasn't had to do that as well. And Dirrell's had his own struggles. But I think for you to get through all of that and still maintain your composure, he had the tough fight against for the European title, where he was hurt in that fight, badly hurt in that fight, but came back to win. So Degale is made of strong stuff internally, and you have to be internally strong to keep going. And I think internally, if you're going in a gunfight and you're going against a guy under pressure who's going to crack first, you point to Dirrell, because there's a history of when Dirrell starts getting nailed, he crumbles. or he is looking for a way out, or he doesn't want it. He hasn't got the heart for that. Now, I don't know if, as Dirrell's older, he's had more time to reflect, but mentally, do things change? Do you suddenly gain heart? Do you suddenly gain a hunger and desire to, when it gets down and dirty, you know, are you prepared to get and have a fight? That's the question with Dirrell. Now, in terms of heart and courage, I want to bring up a fight. Vitaly Klitschko fought Chris Bird, and his rotator cuff, his shoulder went, and his shoulder did go. Unlike Manny Pacquiao, his shoulder did go, and you saw it in the fight. And you know, Klitschko pulled out of the fight when he's fighting Chris Bird, and he got literally, he got destroyed. It was on HBO. He got destroyed on HBO. Jim Lampley, and I think it was Harold, I can't remember his name again. The other one, the guy that had the argument with Floyd Mayweather. I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name. Anyway, well, he got destroyed on HBO. So then, when Lennox Lewis fought Vitaly Klitschko, that fight where Vitaly showed so much heart, took all those uppercuts and stood in front of the undisputed champion at the time, you know, he gained his fan base back because he stood in there and took his lumps like a man. He had to, else we wouldn't be talking about Vitaly Klitschko today the way we do. So it could go that way. It could go the way that Dirrell, in this fight against Degale, shows some balls, shows some heart. When he gets nailed, comes back and delivers. The way I see the fight going is I see an aggressive Degale. Now Degale, not the greatest at coming forward in fights. He's very comfortable on the back foot. If you look at Degale coming forward, he's not as good as coming forward as he's going backwards. Although I do see an aggressive Degale, I do believe his amateur pedigree is going to help him, because remember, being an Olympic gold medalist, he boxed the best of the best, and he was able to travel around the world. So that international experience is going to be key. I don't think he freezes. I think we're going to see the very best of James Degale, and I believe he becomes world champion. How does the fight go? I think Degale nails Dirrell early. Dirrell goes into a shell. Potentially, Degale could stop Dirrell, but I see this guy into a point decision, and a unanimous point decision for James Degale. Will it be an explosive fight? I don't think Dirrell is going to engage as much. I think Degale will be the one that will take the chances, and I believe that Degale puts his punches together better than Dirrell. He has a tendency to use the one hand and drop his left a lot. So use the right hand as the jab and then drop the left a lot. He's a classy southpaw, don't get me wrong, but class skills are great. But if you've got no heart and no desire and no passion, then you're kind of a shadow of a fighter. So Degale could be fighting a shadow on the night, or he could be fighting a guy that legitimately is ready to prove himself on the world scene. I'm going with Degale. I think he's got the skills. You've got to back yourself when you're talking about calling somebody one of the best three in the world, and I believe Degale is right up there, and I believe Degale beats Dirrell. I really do. Yeah. Degale becomes the IBF super middleweight champion of the world, and we'll understand why Carl Froch wanted no part of James Degale. And I don't think Carl Froch fights any of these two guys. They're the sort of guys that, if you watch when Carl Froch fought Dirrell, you know, Dirrell was picking him off, looking beautiful. But again, like I said, as soon as Froch started closing the range down and Dirrell, then that's where trouble was. And I think that's exactly what Degale will do. He'll step to Dirrell, and unless Dirrell can hit Degale early and hurt him early, I see that just Degale overwhelming Dirrell with punches. Let me know what you guys think. I'm out. Take care.